Most people are slowly becoming a weaker version of themselves every year, and they do not even notice it happening, but a small group of people are doing the opposite. They are becoming so focused on growth that after a few years, their old friends barely recognize them, and the wild part is they are not superheroes or geniuses. They just learned how to get addicted to growth in the same way people get addicted to comfort. And if you stay with me, you will understand how to build that same addiction in your own life. Picture a cold morning in New York City. Around 6:30 a.m., the subway is half full and most people look half asleep. Scrolling their phones, a guy in a navy hoodie is standing near the door reading a book about psychology while everyone else is watching short videos. He looks normal, nothing special, but fast forward 3 years. He is fitter, calmer, running a small business and speaking confidently. In meetings, what changed his life was not one big moment, but a quiet addiction to getting a little better every day. The reason this matters is simple. Many people feel stuck. You might feel like your motivation comes and goes. Like waves, maybe you promise yourself change every January, and by March, life pulls you back to old habits. Research from the University of Scranton found that a large percentage of people abandon their goals within the first months because motivation alone is unreliable. The brain loves comfort and familiarity, so growth feels unnatural at first. I learned this the hard way in my early 20s, living in a small apartment in Dallas, working a job. I did not love telling myself I would start improving next week, next month, next year. One night around midnight, I was eating takeout, watching random videos, and I had this strange realization. Nobody was coming to change my life for me. Not a friend, not a boss, not some lucky break. And that thought was uncomfortable. But it was also freeing because it meant growth was in my control. So how do you actually get addicted to growth? It starts with understanding dopamine, which is the chemical in your brain connected to motivation and reward. Many people think dopamine is about pleasure, but neuroscientists explain it is more about pursuit and anticipation. Your brain releases dopamine when it expects a reward, not just when it gets one. This means if you can link dopamine to effort and progress, your brain can start craving growth itself. A friend of mine in San Diego named Luis figured this out accidentally. He wanted to get in shape, but hated the gym, so he made a simple rule every time he finished a workout. He marked a big red X on a calendar on his wall. He told me watching the chain grow felt satisfying, and he did not want to break it. Psychologists call this the progress principle. Seeing visible progress boosts motivation, and over time he went from forcing himself to work out to feeling weird if he skipped. Another piece of the puzzle is identity. When people say, "I am trying to improve," they often fail, but when they say, "I am the kind of person who improves daily," their behavior shifts. Studies in social psychology show identity-based habits are more powerful than outcome-based goals. If you see yourself as a learner, you read more. If you see yourself as an active person, you move more. The label shapes the action. I once met a woman in Chicago at a coffee shop near Lake Michigan. She was studying before work every morning. I asked what she was preparing for, and she said she just likes learning new things. She was not chasing a degree at that moment. She simply believed she was a lifelong learner. That identity pushed her to read, practice, and take courses, and a year later, she transitioned into a better career because her skills had quietly grown. Growth addiction also requires friction in the right direction. Most people design their lives to make comfort easy and growth hard. Snacks on the desk, phone in the bed, endless entertainment. One guy I knew in Toronto changed his environment. Instead of relying on willpower, he left books on his couch, put his running shoes by the door, and kept his phone away from his desk. Behavioral scientists say environment often beats motivation. When the good choice is easier than the bad one, your behavior shifts automatically. There is also the power of tiny daily wins. A researcher at Harvard, Teresa Amabile, found that small progress can boost inner work life more than big, rare victories. This means finishing a page, writing 1 paragraph, doing 10 push-ups, learning 5 new words. These micro wins send a signal to your brain that effort leads somewhere, and your brain starts liking that feeling. Let me tell you about Marcus from Atlanta. He worked a regular office job and felt average by his own words. He decided on a simple rule: improve 1% daily. Some days it was listening to an educational podcast during his commute. Some days it was practicing communication skills. Some days it was saving a bit of money. After 2 years, his co-workers saw him as sharp, disciplined, and reliable. He told me he never felt a huge change day to day, but over time he became almost unrecognizable compared to his past self. Another key is learning to enjoy the process, not just the result. This sounds cliché, but it is backed by research people who focus only on outcomes burn out faster, while those who find meaning in the process persist longer. A runner in Denver once told me he stopped running for medals and started running to explore the city. The mountains, the neighborhoods, the sunrise, and suddenly running felt like a privilege, not a chore. You also need controlled discomfort growth lives slightly. Outside your comfort zone, not in panic mode, but in stretch mode. Psychologists call this the zone of proximal development, where tasks are challenging but doable. Maybe that means speaking up in a meeting in London, applying for a role in Vancouver, or starting a small project online even. If you feel unsure each time you survive discomfort, your brain updates its map of what is possible. There is a story about a barista in Seattle who wanted to become a designer. He began practicing design after work for 30 minutes daily. No drama, no big announcements, just quiet practice after a year. He had a portfolio after 2 years. He had clients. His friends thought he was talented, but what they did not see was the daily grind. He simply got addicted to improving his craft. Social circles matter too, humans mirror the people around them. If your friends mock ambition, growth feels lonely. If your circle values progress, growth feels normal. A study from MIT showed behaviors can spread through social networks, so surrounding yourself with people who read, train, build, or learn can subtly pull you upward. Another overlooked tool is reflection, taking time weekly to ask, what did I learn? What can I do better? A teacher in Boston told her students that reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you just repeat patterns. With reflection, you refine them. Sleep and health play a role as well. When you are exhausted, your brain chooses easy rewards, like junk food and scrolling. When you are rested, your self-control improves. The CDC has reported many adults do not get enough sleep, which affects decision-making. So sometimes growth starts with something as basic as going to bed earlier. Let us talk about failure, because growth addiction does not mean winning all the time. It means returning after losses. A small business owner in Los Angeles launched a product that flopped. Instead of quitting, he studied what went wrong and tried again within a year. He found a working model. Research on resilience shows people who treat failure as feedback improve faster than those who take it personally. The turning point for many people comes when they realize growth is not punishment. It is a form of self-respect. It is saying my future matters enough to invest in today. When that belief clicks, effort feels meaningful, not forced. Here is the key moment. I want you to remember, imagine meeting your future self 5 years from now in a city like New York or Sydney or Toronto. That version of you is calmer, more skilled, more confident. That person will exist if you build them daily, or they will not if you drift the distance between you. And that future self is built from tiny choices, repeated again and again. When you stack identity, progress, environment, reflection, and community, something interesting happens. Growth stops feeling like a phase and starts feeling like who you are. You crave the feeling of leveling up the way some people crave comfort food. And at that point, people who have not seen you in years say, you changed, and they are right, you did. So the takeaway is simple but powerful. Growth is not one big decision. It is 1,000 small ones. It is reading when it is easier to scroll, practicing when it is easier to rest, trying when it is easier to delay. You do not need to be extreme. You need to be consistent and patient, because transformation is quiet before it is visible. If you start today with one small action and repeat it tomorrow, and that next day, your brain will slowly connect effort with reward, and one day you will notice hard things feel normal and progress feels satisfying. And that is when you know you are becoming addicted to growth in the best possible way. Watch the next video to learn the daily system that turns self-discipline into something almost automatic.